notice when we watch this video, and we're gonna play the whole thing and pause it and break it down and go through it. But notice if there's an actual argument being made, if there's an actual argument, a logical thought, a hypothesis, some evidence, some empiricism, or if it's just insults, assertions that things would be terrible, and misrepresentations of arguments. You tell me. Yeah. Now, I know our audience is a little bit biased, but genuinely, just keep that in mind as we watch these videos. And when you watch any or read any debunking libertarian argument, just keep in mind how many. It's almost like if you could just peel away the assertions, everything would be terrible if you had your way. Okay, that's a start. Now, what's your argument? You peel away that. Okay, so why would everything be terrible? What's the actual argument? Well, it'd be a nightmare. It's like you guys are all a bunch of jerks. So it's assertions, insults, misrepresentations of arguments.
Let's listen to this bro.
So let's look, dude. Let's listen to what this Bernie bro has for us. Libertarianism debunked.
Would you like to live in a world where the government didn't interfere in your private life? Where
yes, video over.
Minimal taxes and were free to do whatever you wanted to do as long as it didn't infringe on others' freedoms? Well then, you might be a libertarian. Or you might not be a libertarian. But we're going to talk about it. So libertarianism is a sexy concept right now. You might have heard about it because of third-party candidate Gary Johnson, who called Donald Trump a pussy.
3,000-mile mountain bike ride here, upcoming. Trump's a pussy.
Or you might have heard about it from the Republican version of Bernie Sanders, Ron Paul. Or you turned into a libertarian overnight after completing Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged. But what do libertarians believe in?
Okay, pause.
Well,
so we're how far into the video are we?
44 seconds.
So we're closing out on the end of the minute, and just like I'm saying, it's just pretty much insults. Like, you may have heard of it from one of these three people. First, it's a very unflattering, like, you're debunking a philosophy. What is Gary Johnson, who got like 51% of the vote within the Libertarian Party, who lots of libertarians like myself and Mike aren't even a member of the party. The idea that he called Trump a pussy once, that doesn't really need to be in there if you're debunking a philosophy. I don't know what to say. It's like when I did an episode on feminism a couple episodes ago. I'm not like going like, oh, let's play one clip of one feminist looking embarrassed and that's what's wrong with the philosophy. Take some fucking time, actually read about something if you're going to debunk it, understand, okay, so Ron Paul is the Bernie Sanders of the right, just kind of like a insulting way to describe him, a guy who, as I, go listen to the Ron Paul tribute episode, there's other ways to describe that guy. Or you might have read Ayn Rand and been overnight converted, as if there's some, it's still a very like, oh, you could have, read a novel and been swept up in the romanticism. Yeah. No, like, oh, you could have like read both sides of the argument, been converted over time. No, of course, Rothbard or anybody else, or the way that people are actually converted. But okay, so here he says what libertarians believe. Let's get into it.
I don't like how he said sexy right now.
Libertarianism is so sexy right now. This is the thing about freedom. It's so sexy. All right, let's see. What do libertarians believe?
Libertarians believe it. Well, the core value of libertarianism is small government.
Pause.
Which is a vague concept.
Nope. Nope. I'm sorry. The core belief of libertarianism is small government. Small government is actually a highly contested, debated topic within libertarianism. Okay, that you can't just pretend that that's the core belief of our. No libertarian says that. Even small government people, even like someone like Jason Stapleton, I do believe he puts it as one of his core, but it's one of like 5. You can't just say the core is small government. Of course, there's a huge portion, our whole portion of libertarianism, Murray Rothbard, Mr. Libertarian, who don't believe in small government, or the anarchist wing of libertarianism. So, of course, right away to say this is what they believe, this is the central. No, it's about self-ownership, property rights, and non-aggression. And if you start with that, unfortunately, it's a lot harder to debunk. So that's where we start with libertarian. So take it back just a little bit to where he starts with what libertarians believe, because I think he gets it wrong more.
The view of libertarianism is small government, which is a vague concept meaning pretty much whatever any individual libertarian wants it to mean. So anything from keeping the government out of your bedroom to the privatization of almost every function of government, from education to the police force, can fall under the libertarian agenda.
Okay, pause. So they just kind of happen to like small government, which is really hard to define. It could mean anything, and that's the central philosophy. Like, if you don't see that this is just misrepresenting what libertarians believe instead of actually taking it on, no, look, libertarians believe in self-ownership and non-aggression. We believe it's wrong to initiate violence against peaceful people. In all situations, across the board. Violence should only be used in self-defense. That's the argument. Violence should only be used in self-defense, and people own themselves. That's it. That's the argument. Now, if you want to take that on, fine, take it on. Now, but to just say, oh, and that could mean privatizing this or privatizing this, well, what it means is not supporting violence against non-violent people.
Right.
So, yes, there are implications from that principle.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And everything should be voluntary. All transactions should be voluntary.
Yes. You have the right to defend yourself, but you don't have the right to aggress upon other people. It's fairly straightforward as far as a principle goes. It's kind of shocking that if it's such a flawed principle, at least acknowledge it's a straightforward principle that's flawed. Yeah. So get it right and then debunk that. But okay, so libertarians, you can already see he's setting up the straw man. So this is what libertarians believe: the government should just get out of everything, be private. Okay, it's kind of none of it really makes sense. They just read an Ayn Rand novel and now they want small government, whatever that means. Okay, let's keep going.
The libertarian agenda. So it really shouldn't be a surprise that fiscally conservative Republicans are more likely to vote libertarian than Democrats. However, on social issues, some of the libertarian policy positions are actually more progressive than an Occupy Wall Street drum circle. The libertarian stance on social issues include making prostitution legal and legalizing all drugs, even the good ones. Libertarians also believe that no military action should be taken against foreign nations unless the U.S. is attacked first. All of which sounds great to me.
So pause.
But what doesn't...
So it's always amazing to me how people on the left are able to just dismiss the fact that libertarians wouldn't throw nonviolent people in jail and wouldn't slaughter people in third world countries for profit. Right. It's like, yeah, that sounds nice, but let's get into regulation. And that's so just dismissed. Yeah, that's right. Libertarians are one of the few groups who have actually stood up and say aggressive war is wrong. And a lot more, it's a lot more of a moral travesty than microaggressions or minimum wage laws or any of this other nonsense that other people focus on. That's right. We say that, that is nice, that one little part about how they don't support aggressive war.
Yeah, a Syrian kid with his face falling off is more important than a 21-year-old college kid with their feelings hurt.
Yes, well said. All right, let's continue to play. So that's, I mean, he's agreeing with us, but it's just very kind of dismissive. Well, here's where they go. They lose me though. Yeah. All right, so let's get into it.
First,
oh, by the way, just pause. Has there been how far are we into this video?
Minute
and a half.
We're a minute and a half. Has there been one argument yet? Tell me if I'm wrong. Has there been one argument, one accurate portrayal of what libertarians believe? Anything except just kind of this like dismissive, snooty, holier than thou. Yeah. Now here, let's get into. He's going to start going into his argument because he kind of laid out. Well, here's what I kind of like about them. Where's the problem? All right, let's go.
First, all of which sounds great to me. But what doesn't sound as great are libertarian ideals on the economic front. Libertarianism comes down to the belief that the principles that drive a free market economy can be applied to how humans govern themselves. It's this idea that an invisible hand that guides the free market will also drive human interaction with social order. This foundation is one that I disagree with, because when unchecked, man motivated by self-gain will not ultimately do the right thing. This is why there are criminals, those who commit crimes, even when there is a system that actively tries to prevent it. And then the whole purpose of civilization should be to ensure that everyone is fed, clothed, housed, and not to create conditions so that the few can secure a substantially greater portion of resources while others are virtually left with nothing. So in a libertarian society, who protects the unprotected? Who defends the rights of the defenseless? Even libertarians acknowledge that a free market will drive a larger wealth disparity, which some believe will be offset by the trickling down of wealth and technology. But wealth inequality paired with deregulation creates an opportunity for haves to rule over the have-nots.
Okay, so let's pause it here.
Reasons for
okay, so after kind of basically misunderstanding what Adam Smith's argument on the invisible hand about the invisible hand was. He also says that that's the core of what the libertarian belief is, that the invisible hand will work in every way, and that's we should apply the invisible hand to government as well. Not really accurate of what libertarians believe at all. But really, that entire segment could just be boiled down to things would be really bad if you had your way. things would be really bad. Now he starts getting into how the role of society ought to be to make sure that everyone's fed and clothed and has an education, and that the rich don't have so much while others have so few. Well, see, this is what happens when you don't accurately represent what someone's argument is, and then you can get into this silliness, because none of us are arguing over that. Okay, yes, no one's arguing that people shouldn't be fed and clothed and that the rich should have a lot while poor people have nothing. Nobody's supporting that. We're supporting non-aggression. That's the argument. So if you're going to make an argument that in order to feed and clothe people we need aggression, fine, make the argument. I'm waiting for it. But to just say, oh no, in a libertarian world, the rich would be so much richer than the poor. Well, no, what libertarians believe is in a libertarian world, everybody would get a lot richer. And the idea that there would be a bigger gap, no, the biggest gaps we've ever had have been in statist societies. The Soviet Union, that was the biggest gap, okay? You were either connected to the government or you were fucking a sucker. Right. That was it. There was no in between. It's the big, and the larger the state has grown, the larger the gap between rich and poor in America has grown. So again, see what I just did there? That's kind of an argument, citing some empirical evidence. It's a little bit different than just asserting that things will be bad.